Hello and welcome to a Tech Talk brought to you by the Albert Lea Pubic Library. Today we are going to be talking about internet browsers. So an internet browser is a software program on your computer or mobile device, such as a tablet or a smartphone, that allows the user to view web pages on a computer. So the browser takes the website code that is used by programmers to create websites, and it translates the code into the features of a website that the user sees. And there are a variety of internet browsers available. Sometimes we get questions about the best browser to use, the difference between internet browsers, and so I'm going to tell you about kind of the four most popular browsers and just go over a few of their features. Essentially, which internet browser you use is a personal preference, but there are some differences between browsers that if you've only ever used one internet browser, you may want to try something else and see if it better suits your needs or you like the look and feel of it. So one of the most popular browsers, some people say it's the most used internet browser, is Google Chrome. So Google Chrome has very good compatibility with websites. You'll be able to see everything just how the developer intended for the website to show up. It syncs with your Google account if you have one and if you want it to sync. So you can hit link up like your bookmarks, your passwords, your settings. So let's say you have a home computer and a work computer. You could log into your Google account on one computer, have all your bookmarks there, and then on a separate computer, if you want to log into your Google account, all your bookmarks will show up regardless of what computer you're using. So this is especially useful, maybe not if you have a work and a home computer, but if you have multiple computers at work that you use, or if you frequently use different devices, maybe you have a laptop and a desktop at home, or you want to use Google Chrome on your tablet and also your computer. So that's an option to sync it up. Google Chrome uses more RAM, so it may affect the performance of your computer, but if you have a relatively new computer, you probably will not notice it. And the reason it uses more RAM is that oftentimes it loads pages a tiny bit faster than other internet browsers. You probably won't notice a difference unless you're using an older version of an internet browser. So if you're noticing that your computer is running a little bit slow and you're using Google Chrome, and you have maybe a little bit older computer, you could try one of the different browsers and see if that affects the performance. It could be your computer, it could be the internet browser, it could be something else entirely, but that's just something to know, that it uses more RAM than other internet browsers. Google is constantly updating the browser, so it's constantly updating privacy, security, if there's any issues with how websites are displaying, it's constantly updating it, and a user can go in and update their browser frequently to get those settings. And then some people have some privacy concerns with using products by Google, and that's totally understandable if you are one of them, because Google's interested in data to make their products better. You may want to consider one of the other browsers, such as the one I'm going to talk about next. So something to think about if that's a concern for you, is there are other options. So moving on, the next browser I'm going to talk about is Mozilla Firefox. So this is the only internet browser that I'm going to mention that is not developed by one of the big tech companies. So if you're concerned about privacy, you're concerned about what tech companies might be tracking of your internet use for data, Firefox is a great option. It's an open source browser. And so open source software means that they share the code with other developers and other people can work on it. So the code is released like under a license, and then whoever holds the copyright can let others kind of use the code and distribute it. So there's a big movement kind of for open source software to share ideas with permission of who owns it. So some people really like that feature of Firefox. Firefox has really good security features. Again, it's not run by one of the big tech companies, so you might feel a little safer using it. It also just is really updated with security, privacy features. And some people can, some experts in the computer science field think that Firefox is the best browser for privacy. So if those are your top concerns, you may want to consider using Firefox. And then just one little downside is that Firefox isn't as updated as often as other browsers because it's not run by a big company that has a ton of employees. It's updated fairly often, but just, you might see an update for Google Chrome twice a week. Firefox might be once a month. So it's just not updated as much, but it is considered one of the best for privacy. And it also does not have some of the fancier add-ons. So like on Google Chrome, some websites or companies have developed add-ons so you can, have a little widget. For instance, Pinterest. You can download an add-on for Google Chrome for Pinterest that shows up on the toolbar of your internet browser, and you click on it, and whatever you're looking at, it'll automatically create a pin for you. Some of those things aren't available on Firefox, but if you're looking for a basic browser, it's fairly easy to use. It's very streamlined in its look, and you're really concerned about privacy, security, or you just want to try something else, I would recommend Firefox. It's available on Windows and Macintosh computers. And there may be some tablet or mobile version of it as well. And then next, we have Apple Safari. So Safari is only available on Apple products. So if you have a Mac or an iPhone or an iPad, the default browser is Safari on there. It's not available for Windows. This browser is really best for people who want to remain within Apple's, system of products. It syncs really well with other Apple programs. So if you have an Apple computer and you're using Safari and you see a time and a date for something that you want to put on your calendar, a lot of times you can right-click on it and download it right to your calendar if you're using the Apple Calendar. So it's really best used for people who like those kinds of features. Now, if you have an iPad, you're probably using Safari. You can download a Google Chrome version for your iPad if you want to try a different web browser. There's other browsers available for tablets. But if you don't have a problem using Safari, you can consider sticking with it. It's very, the look is very, very easy to use. It's not the fastest browser available. Like I mentioned, Google Chrome is frequently rated the fastest, but it also uses more RAM. And Safari is also tightly controlled by Apple. So again, if you have real concerns about using a product by one of the big tech companies, you may want to consider Firefox and download that on your Mac computer or your tablet rather than using Apple's product. Now, when it says tightly controlled, that doesn't mean that, every single thing you're doing is tracked. It means that the look, the feel, everything is kind of just like controlled within Apple, whereas Firefox is open source, so they let other people use the code to develop things for it. And then the last internet browser I want to talk to you about today is Microsoft Edge. This is the Windows replacement for Internet Explorer. So I'm not going to talk about Internet Explorer today because newer computers, it's not available. So if you have an older computer and you're still using Internet Explorer, it may still work fine. That's great. There are a lot of compatibility issues with Internet Explorer, web pages not downloading right, things not showing up right, attachments not working. So if you're able to download a different browser and you're using Internet Explorer, you may want to try that if you've been having trouble with some of the websites you use. Microsoft Edge is available for Windows, obviously. It's the default internet browser for new Windows computers. And it's also available for older Windows computers now as well. So it's not just Windows 10, there's some older version. There's versions that you can download for older Windows computers. There's also a version that's available for Mac, if you so wish. Many people, Microsoft Edge is still a fairly new internet browser for a replacement of Internet Explorer, and so there's many people that don't like the design. So if you've been using Microsoft Edge and you're not sure how to use it, or you're just not enjoying how it looks, you're having trouble finding things, I would recommend trying one of the other browsers and seeing if it works better for you. It might not. You might go back to Edge, but it doesn't hurt trying. All of these internet browsers are free to download. So if you have an Apple computer, Safari is probably already downloaded on it, but you can download Google Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. They're all free to download. And just try it out. If you don't like it, you can delete it and go back to what you were using. Microsoft Edge, some people have some privacy concerns because Microsoft does care about data, just like Google does. So they want to know, kind of tracking what people are doing, what sites they're visiting to kind of better your experience. So if you have some privacy concerns at all around that, I would consider using a different browser. But if Microsoft Edge works for you and you're not as concerned about that, I would say go ahead. The logo that you see on the right-hand side is the newest logo of Microsoft Edge. Before, the logo was a blue E. And so Microsoft has recently replaced that logo. So if you're used to seeing a different logo, don't worry, it's the same product, just a different branding that Microsoft is trying for their internet browser. So those are the four main internet browsers. There are some other internet browsers available that are like open source, more like Firefox, that you could research and see if that's something you're interested in downloading and trying. But for the focus of this, I wanted to focus on the four most popular web browsers that you may be using. All internet browsers essentially do the same thing. They're presenting the user with the ability to access information on the internet. But they're built differently, so you're going to have a different experience on each internet browser. So if you're using one and you love it and you don't want to try a different one, that's great. If you are using one and you're willing to try something else, maybe download one of the others and see if the experience is better. They all do the same thing. They have a little bit different features. Things might be buttons and icons maybe in slightly different places. So it's worth trying a different internet browser, especially if you're, struggling with the one you use or you're just curious about what else is out there. So this concludes our tech talk about internet browsers. I hope you found the information helpful. We will be back on the first week of December on Wednesday at 10 a.m. with a tech talk on another topic. And again, this is brought to you by the Albert Lea Public Library.